Hello, everybody. And of course, welcome back to another episode of X Talking Ish with your boy X. And unfortunately, no Ish this morning, but that's okay. We are going to pick up where we left off from last Tuesday. And he, Ish, as an Ish, will join us on Tuesday night. Right now, he has a little bit of work to take care of. But as always, if you guys are on Facebook, please make sure you like and share this broadcast. If you are on our Facebook page, go ahead and hit that like button. And as well, if you are checking us out on YouTube, go ahead hit that red subscribe button and go ahead hit that notification bell so you can be notified for shows like this one in the future. Ding! Thank you for that, Ish. And as well, if you are on Periscope on Twitter/X, go ahead check us out at X Talking Ish. And also on my personal page, which I'm in the process of trying to retweet on my own as well over here, but I'm having a little bit of difficulties. But I'm about to go ahead and retweet it right now. Bada bing, bada boom. And we are on line for the Periscope wise on Twitter. So with that being said, we know why you guys are all here. We are here for the week 3 pregame show here in the NFL. Like I said before, Ish won't be joining us today, so going to be going through these games rather quickly and a little bit quicker than usually, just because, if I'm being honest, when it comes to this NFL slate of games, a lot of these games should be, for the most part, should be wins by some of these heavily favored teams. There are going to be some games that are going to be close, just due to, besides the point spread, but just due to some of these matchups, the way that the teams are going into this game. We have a matchup between the Chargers and the Vikings, of two very hungry teams desperate for a win. That game itself could probably eliminate one of those teams from playoff contention if they go down 0-3. Be very interesting to see how that turns out. You have teams like the Broncos and the Dolphins, where the Broncos, again, another team that's 0-2 and very hungry and desperate for a win. Can they go on the road and upset the Miami Dolphins? It's going to be some very interesting games throughout the Sunday slate. But for the most part, looks like Ish and I are kind of on tune when it comes to what we think will be happening moving forward in the NFL. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and start off with the first game of Sunday that we're going to speak of, and that's the Colts versus Ravens. Not going to sugarcoat it, not even going to act like anybody's surprised by any of our picks for this game, but we both have the Ravens, probably for multiple reasons why. And even though, of course, J.K. Dobbins is out for the rest of the season with his injury, the Ravens have just too many great players on both sides of the ball to let this game slip through their hands, especially at home. Colts will not be having Anthony Richardson at the quarterback position for them for this game, coming off a concussion protocol. So that itself just kind of hinders the Colts in being able to make this upset in Baltimore. Of course, if you know the rivalry and the history between these two teams, we wouldn't have the Baltimore Ravens without the Baltimore Colts leaving Baltimore and heading to Indianapolis, thus born the Baltimore Ravens. These two teams, franchise-wise, don't really like each other too much. I expect a hard-hitting match by the Ravens themselves. I expect the Colts, after this game next week, I expect them to lose again. I don't know who they play, but it doesn't really matter because, again, if you look at the track history of the Ravens and their opponents, of any time that somebody comes and plays the Ravens, usually next week they lose that game as well too, just due to the physical nature of that matchup. So again, not going to sugarcoat this one. This is probably going to be a Ravens thrashing. I expect them to cover that spread and win by at least 10 points. Let's go ahead and move on to the Tennessee Titans versus the Cleveland Browns. Very interesting matchup. I was actually talking about this matchup to one of our OGs here on the show, Mr. Adrian Lunsford. And I think it's an interesting matchup because both of these teams are kind of like identical. They've been identical for a number of years now. Every time they play one another, the games come down to pretty much the last 5 minutes of the game to determine who wins this game. I expect nothing less from this game itself. Um, Anytime though that the Tennessee Titans come into Cleveland and play against the Browns, the Tennessee Titans usually find a way to win this game. So with that being said, for myself, I have to pick Tennessee Titans, and obviously, yes, it's easy to throw me in there as a homer pick. I got that. I understand. I can easily look at it and say, "Hey, X, this is a homer pick for you." You might be right, but for Tennessee Titans, again, they play really well against the Cleveland Browns. I don't know if it's something about trying to prove a point that the Tennessee Titans can run this offensive scheme better than the Browns can when it comes to the ground and pound and having, mediocre ass quarterbacks to be able to allow your offense to perform efficiently. And that was, again, before Deshaun Watson. But again, Deshaun Watson needs to hurry up and find Deshaun Watson of the past, or his ass will be thrown in there in the mediocre quarterback conversation as well, too. For the Browns, though, another reason why I had to pick the Tennessee Titans, because that heart gut wrenching injury to Nick Chubb, obviously he will be out for the rest of the season. I just don't know if the Browns are going to be able to bounce back from that. Yes, they did sign Kareem Hunt just a couple of days after Chubb's injury. I expect actually Kareem Hunt to have a pretty decent game, at least probably run for 50 to 60, maybe even 70 yards. I don't expect them to break 100. Again, that Tennessee Titans defense is run defense wise is really, really good. I don't expect him to hit 100 yards, but I expect Kareem Hunt to play with some intensity and just being able to allow himself to enjoy football once again. Of course, let's be honest, Kareem Hunt unfortunately has this dark cloud that hangs over him, that rightfully so. Again, that's something that he did to himself. I'm not trying to make it seem like he's recuperating and we're able to forget what he did in his past life, but just one of those things where, hey, let's just go ahead and move on. Let's play some football and let's put the best 11 out there and we'll judge them from there, because that's how I look at football. But yeah, another story for another day. Let's get to the comment section. Fresh one that says, "What's good, X? Nothing much. Hey, we just out here talking football. You know how I go around here on a Sunday morning right before the game start." He also says, "Should I start Watson or Joe Cool?" He says, "I know this ain't fantasy show, but just need another option or opinion. My part, another opinion." It's a really great question. Fractured when it comes to Joey B. Of course, they play the Rams on Monday night. My question to the Rams, honestly, is, are y'all for real? Because I don't know yet if the Rams are as real as we kind of want them to be. They've, again, played well in Seattle week one. And also, too, Joe Burrow, how healthy are you? Right? That's if I'm looking at the defensive side of things, I know that this Titans defense is going to be a little bit difficult to throw against. Might even cause some turnovers. For me, my opinion, I would take Joe Burrow against that Rams defense. But one thing about me in fantasy, it's like water and oil. Just do not mix. So you can take my word for it, but don't come back and shoot me after I give you the wrong advice. That's why I bet and not play fantasy football. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the Broncos and the Dolphins. Like I talked about earlier in the intro, when it comes to this Broncos team, a very, very, very desperate 0-2 Broncos team. And of course, they go into Miami today to take on the Dolphins. And at the moment, I want to look into their upcoming schedule after the Dolphins, because it does kind of lighten up for the next two games. They do go into Chicago to take on the Bears, and they also host the Jets the week after. So, maybe you can climb out of this basement the next 2 weeks, but none of those games, of course, are guaranteed by the way that the Broncos are playing, right? After that, you play the Chiefs. The week after that, you play the Broncos. And then, the week after that, you play the Packers. And the week after that, you play the Chiefs once again. So, and then the week after that, my apologies, you play the Bills. So for the Broncos, season could be over before it even starts. I mean, I'm just being honest. I mean, it's not looking good at all. On On the defensive side of the ball, I mean, for the most part, they know what to do on that side of the ball. Try to take out Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle will not be playing for the Dolphins this weekend due to concussion protocol. So that on the defensive side of things for the Broncos could help out tremendously if they're able to contain Tyreek Hill for the most part of that game, kind of do what Bill Belichick did last week and kind of neutralize Tyreek Hill. So if you're able to get PS2, who we talk about very heavily on this show, and get him matched up with Tyreek Hill for throughout the most of the game, I would hope that he kind of covers him throughout the game, and then also maybe have a safety over top or somebody that's spying on him as well. Then that comes down to the other complementary pieces for the Dolphins to be able to showcase their skill set and be able to have a big game as well too. So, of course, obviously a running back like Raheem Mostert, I would expect him to have a decent game, being able to take full advantage of the mismatches that the Dolphins are going to try to create on the offense side of the ball. For the Broncos, they're going to have to get this offense going. They've scored, of course, 33 points last week, but that game really was not a game until they made it a game till late. And if it was for the Hail Mary throw, it wouldn't even be as close to what it was. And then, of course, the Broncos tried a 2-point conversion, which they failed on. And that's why the game ended as a 2-point loss for the Broncos. Week before that, only scored 16 against the Raiders. So for right now, I mean, I have to look at that Broncos offense to see, are you guys even capable of putting up at least 25 points against the Dolphins to have a chance against this high-powered offense? And again, that's the Dolphins team that's missing one of their pieces. They will be at home, the Dolphins I'm speaking of. So that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to go ahead and take the Dolphins at home, just because they just have too much. They just have too much on the field. And also, I just don't think the Broncos, personnel-wise, I don't think this is the personnel that Sean Payton wants to have moving forward. So it'll be interesting to see some of these changes in the offseason, because right now it looks like Russell is done cooking his last pot out there in Denver. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the Patriots and the Jets. Now, as always, this isn't any new news, but we know, of course, Aaron Rodgers is out for the rest of the season. So before coming into this game, we kind of looked at this game a little bit differently when it comes to, this should be a good matchup. Aaron Rodgers, Mac Jones against, of course, Bill Belichick's defense. We'll see the battle of the wits and the minds and who will flinch first. Unfortunately, we don't get that anymore. So we get to watch, of course, Zach Wilson playing against Mac Jones. And I know that sounds like such a thrilling headline in the paper to have to be able to watch these two quarterbacks duke it out. But by default, going with the Patriots. It's not even because they're just that much better. It's because the Jets are just not that good without Aaron Rodgers. They're mediocre. They're okay. They can get by. But without Aaron Rodgers there, the Patriots, I think they're trying to come along. They're trying to get what they need to get to for this season. No Patriot way, none of this old school crap that they keep talking about. No, I got to figure out who y'all are for 2023. And this is the best time to be able to get you your first win on the road against a team that Bill Belichick hates. He's hated for a very, very long time. It could help raise the morale a little bit within the Patriots locker room, and maybe they can go on a little run. Let me see what their record is. Their schedule looking like moving forward. Yeah, so if I'm the Patriots, you need to go ahead and get this win in, because week after that, it looks like you going to Dallas to play the Cowboys. Week after that, you play the Saints. Week after that, you play the Raiders in Vegas. Week after that, you play the Bills. And then also don't forget to add, they also play the Dolphins in Miami the week after that. So if I'm the Patriots, you better get this win, because if you go 0-3 going into Dallas next week, you could be 0-4 going into the Saints game at home, and you could be 0-5. That happens. I'm just saying it should not. We talked about this on the show when it comes to Bill Belichick. I'm not saying at all Bill Belichick gonna get fired in the middle of the season because that's not gonna happen. But 0-4, 0-5, woo, that's some unfamiliar territory for the Patriots in a very, very long time. Let's get to the comment section right quick. Greg says, "I'm laughing at your disappointed voice in regards to this." Yes, I'm laughing as well too. I'm very disappointed in the whole game. Fracture One is talking, of course, about the previous game we spoke about. He said Broncos can triple heal, and that still won't help Dolphins by 14. Fracture says, "Hey, this Dolphins and Broncos game is not going to be a match at all. So go ahead, put all your money in on the Dolphins. But you know what happens anytime that happens on a Sunday afternoon? Don't put all your money in just shit. Just put a little bit. You gotta say something for Sunday Night Football. Don't put it all in. Afternoon games, they will get you. They will get you." Bills versus Commanders. I think this is a interesting matchup here because if we're looking at the logo of both of these teams, we're just looking at the Bills, the Commanders. The Bills over the last 5 years have been a better team overall, probably comparison to Commanders. But again, that's kind of debatable because if you look at the Commanders have been able to do, we've won division titles in a very difficult division, even though they were 7-9 that year, which again kind of reminds you of maybe some NFC West vibes, NFC South vibes. Hell, I'll throw in the AFC South vibes when it comes to division just not being that great and getting away with being in a bad division and getting a home playoff spot. For the Bills, they have to get this up and going because right now they're looking up to the Dolphins. Before the season started, really, myself included and everybody else, for the most part, with a healthy roster on paper, we kind of looked at the Jets maybe being able to take this throne from everybody else in the AFC East. The Bills have been the standard in the AFC East for a couple of years now, even though, of course, it was the Patriots before Brady left. It kind of seems as though the changing of the guard is now for the Bills. The Bills' issue is it's not the regular season. We don't care about what you do in the regular season anymore, Bills. It's about what you can do in the postseason, and can you get over that Patrick Mahomes thorn that keeps on getting into Josh Allen's side. For the Commanders, they're just happy if they have a winning season for the most part. Changing a new ownership group over the offseason. One of their biggest wins is honestly just not having the previous owner being in charge anymore. So Ish and I are in agreement that this is probably the Bills game to win. This is a 6-point favorite team going into DC for the Bills, but I don't think this is going to be as big as of a blowout of 6 points. It wouldn't surprise me at all. This is a 3-point game at all. Bills win this game by a late field goal to win this game. I don't think this is going to be a blowout type of game. Now, if this is a blowout, I would have to look at the Bills like, okay, maybe we are getting back to what we've seen from the Bills the last couple of years or so. But again, I'm not going to put too much stock in the regular season for the Bills because at the end of the day, it's what can you do for us in the postseason. Greg says, "I know it's early in the season, but the Bills aren't giving me that title contender threat feeling anymore." Any thoughts on that? For more clarity to my question, the Bills look very beatable. You're not wrong, right? I literally just stated that when it comes to this Bills team isn't what it once was in the past. But guess what? I would say that's okay if you're a team that's a championship team like the Chiefs, teams that have been there, done that before. They can turn on that switch, even though the first week or so you lost guys like Travis Kelce and Chris Jones. You can still manage throughout the season and turn it on when it's necessary. We haven't seen that from the Bills, right? So it's hard for me to say, oh yeah, Josh Allen, he's just gonna clean up the turnovers. He hasn't cleaned up the turnovers, right? The Bills are gonna find a way to run the ball. They haven't ran the ball in 3 years. The Bills are going to be able to. I don't have as much confidence in the Bills right now going into the postseason because they have not done anything to address that running back room. they have not addressed Josh Allen and have a serious sit down with him and just say, Josh, you need to clean it up. You are the leader. I don't know if they've done that or not. I don't know if this is something that the Stephon Diggs and the Josh Allen relationship is somewhat fractured, and we've seen that obviously going from last season to the offseason to training camp of what happened before the season even started with them. And this is why I stated as my bold prediction for the year that wouldn't surprise me at all if Stephon Diggs is traded before the season is over with, because of maybe the Bills are going to crumble right in front of our eyes. But for this week, I think they take care of business, and we'll revisit this. We'll revisit this by the midway point, probably by week 11, week 12, because at the end of the day, it's on them now. It's on the Bills to show us that they can get over this own mental hump that they have within themselves. Fracture One says this could be a huge win for the Commanders moving forward. They have the talent. They just need that one win to change everyone's mind in the locker room. I 1,000,000% agree. Let's be real though. For the Commanders, for the last however many years since Ron Rivera's been there, it's really been the Commanders versus everybody else, right? I mean, we look at the two glitz and glamour teams. I'm talking about the Cowboys and the Eagles, and we always want to put them two as in the top two in the NFC East, which they should be. But for the Commanders, yeah, again, we can ride off of some high hopes and this, that, and the third. But if we're looking at rosters and we're just looking at play on the field, the Commanders are not on the Eagles and the Cowboys level at this moment. Things will change. Injuries happen. We saw that obviously in Dallas over the week. Things happen throughout the season to where by week 16, week 17, if the Commanders are a little bit more healthier than the Cowboys and Eagles, yeah, there could be some things that we're talking about a little bit differently when it comes to how we view this Commanders team. We had a lot of questions about Sam Howell, and can he even be not even just a franchise guy? Can he even be a quarterback that can last a year for the Commanders, right? So he's playing well. The Commanders are playing well. Everybody is enjoying themselves for the moment. 2-0. If they do go 3-0 against the Bills, yeah, maybe we might have to look at the Commanders a little bit differently, especially being a 6-point underdog at home. All right, get to the Lions and the Falcons. I think this is a very interesting matchup due to the two rookie running backs who probably will be getting all of the shine coming into this game. Obviously, Bijan Robinson with the Falcons, but also for Mr. Jahmyr Gibbs for the Lions. Word on the street is the Lions are expecting to unleash him and give him more plays at that running back position. Obviously, with David Montgomery hurt, this is supposed to be his breakout game. Lions fans have been wanting to see more of him since week 1 against the Chiefs. And I made a bold proclamation. A lot of people hated me for saying this, and it's perfectly fine. But I think, unfortunately, people are holding on emotionally what I'm trying to say. But what I'm saying is that talent-wise, if you look at the talent that Jahmyr Gibbs has at that running back position, it looks like it could be the best and the most talented running back since Barry Sanders. And yes, you can easily throw in guys like a Reggie Bush and David Montgomery or even Jamal Williams from last year. But again, I'm just talking about talent. I'm not talking about actual production of what either Jahmyr Gibbs or Reggie Bush has done in the past. Reggie Bush ran for 1,000 yards for the Lions. So again, I'm not speaking on that. I'm just speaking on the acceleration, the power, the ultimate top speed that Jahmyr Gibbs has. It's very amazing to watch him. And I think him being in a Lions uniform easily, for me, it shows that the talent has surpassed any running back that the Lions has had in the last 25 years. That's just my opinion. Fracture One says Falcons look good. They need to get Pitts involved in the offense more. Same thing can be said about Gibbs with the Lions. I'm happy you said that about Pitts with the Falcons. There's a lot of question marks, a lot of head scratching going on with the Falcons and how they're utilizing Pitts. I see people talk about how he's already a bust, which is insane to me to have a guy that's in his second year that can't throw himself the ball consider a bust when it's not because of his injury. Or not because of an injury. He's been out there on the field. He's been producing. That's not the issue. The issue is just not getting the ball enough. Now, granted, I haven't sat down and actually watched all of the Falcons film to really see what are the defensive side of the things are doing to maybe double cover Pitts, maybe to play a safety over the top to where it don't allow Pitts to be one-on-one with a linebacker, because I'm pretty sure if you are an offensive guru, that's what you want to look for, is that tight end on a linebacker mismatch. Again, I don't know what exactly is going on why we can't utilize Pitts the way that we probably should be utilizing him. But that's something Arthur Smith needs to figure out real quickly, because you have this very talented weapon on the tight end side of the ball that doesn't play like a legit tight end. So let's move him around. Let's put him in some motions. Let's make him not have to just stay next to that tackle or, of course, in that slot receiver position and just run plays in that position. If he is as talented as a tight end as I think that he is, and probably the Falcons think that he is because he was a first round pick, then let's switch some things up and let's see if we can get him more involved in the offense instead of just putting him out there and just expecting him to run a 10-yard dig or a 12-yard post route and to be open or across the middle. Greg also says, I agree with Fracture. One of the Lions need to get Gibbs the ball more, SMH. Again, if y'all listen to me, Greg, I just stated that they are going to be giving Gibbs the ball a little bit more this upcoming game. This is a method to the Lions madness that I think that they've been trying to do since week one is to not put too much on the rookie's plate coming into this rookie season. I'm pretty sure they want to get him the ball. They want to make sure that he's fed. They know how talented of a running back that he is. I just think that the Lions are trying to be a little bit more, not cautious, but just be more understanding that this is a marathon and not a sprint. There's no reason to throw him in there. There's no reason for him to try to get 250 yards in one game when we can utilize him and have him throughout the whole season instead of just for a 3-game spurt. Freshwater also says they have no weapon to throw the ball to outside of Pitts. They need to get a solid wide receiver this year's draft or free agents. I mean, that's why they drafted Drake London. I mean, they love him from Drake London. Drake London was another top receiver come out of USC. I mean, that's what you want, right? A top receiver. That's what Drake London is supposed to be. Granted, it might take him another year or two to be that guy, but that's who the number one is supposed to be. It is Drake London. So see what happens for the Falcons moving forward. Saints and the Packers. With this game being in Green Bay, I'm very surprised this game is a 1-point favorite by the Packers. The way the Saints have been playing last couple of weeks, especially on the defense side of the ball, I was expecting the Saints to be a couple more points favored than Green Bay being a 1-point favorite at home. I understand the Packers have been playing, good football, especially with Jordan Love not turning the ball over recently. But the Saints team is for real. Saints team is for real, especially the defense side of the ball. Derek Carr, and I've stated this multiple times on this show. I'll state this all the time until I'm in the grave. The defensive side of the ball is a lot easier to come together just because it's the defense. I don't know how to explain it really. It's just when you get personalities together and they lock in, they're able to play a lot more freely on the defensive side of the ball and make plays and just be able to establish that defensive side of the ball until that defense starts getting cracked and starts crumbling. And then all of a sudden you start seeing the defenses not being able to hold up as much. But for the offense, usually if you are a first-year offense, first-year quarterback, offensive coordinator, whatever it is, it takes a couple of weeks, right? Maybe even half the season for things to finally come along. I'm just going back to, I remember when Tom Brady, of course, joined the Buccaneers that first year, and it took them until about the midway point of that season to finally get that offense going and we saw what happened. No, I'm not comparing the Saints to the Buccaneers, but I'm just saying that they have a solid defense. If the Saints can get this offense going, Derek Carr, I think his level of play will continue to keep getting better. Obviously, they're waiting on Kamara to come back next week. Once he finally comes back, I'm assuming this should be all right. My apologies. I won't say he'll be back week 5. My apologies, because he'll be out one more week at week 4. So once Kamara comes back in about a couple more weeks, I could see the Saints team getting a lot better on the offensive side of the ball. We still haven't seen Michael Thomas really have a breakout game just yet. We've seen Olave, of course, do his thing, but I'm waiting on another 150-yard game from Olave as well, too. I mean, they have the weapons there. It's not like the Saints are the year or two removed from Drew Brees being there. I think this is the first time where they can actually look at themselves and say, we have a decent squad dating back to the Drew Brees era. And for Saints fans, if I were you, I would definitely be excited, because even though in the NFC it looks like, hey, you got the Niners, you got the Cowboys, you got the Eagles. Remember, the Eagles and the Cowboys, they might beat themselves up. So being in that little NFC South could play dividends for the Saints moving forward, to where they might not have to beat up too many teams to get to the playoffs. Fraction says Carr has been just average for the Saints so far, which isn't what the Saints pay for. You're not wrong, Fracture. You're not wrong at all. When you give a guy $100 million plus to be again, I don't think Derek Carr is the franchise guy for them for the next 10 years. He's the guy, right, for them moving forward for at least 3 more years. Yes, I agree. We expect the play to be picked up a little bit quicker. But again, I think this is the beginning stages of a marriage, right? Beginning stages of a relationship, that awkward stage, trying to figure out what your girl's favorite color is, what the guy likes to do for fun, what type of foods, your girl like to eat. That's what this is all about now. Once we get into week 16, week 17, we already know what our favorite color is, favorite food. We're trying to plan out now. We're trying to plan out the engagement part. We're trying to plan out the honeymoon. We're trying to plan out where we're going to after the wedding. We're going to Turks and Caicos, baby. And I ain't talking about because the season's over with. The season for the Saints, they're going to the playoffs, baby. So we're going to figure out what we're doing after the Super Bowl party, if that's where the Saints can land themselves into, depending on how the season plays out. Texans, Jags, AFC South matchup that I'm pretty sure if you're not in the South, you probably don't care for too much, but I'll be interested to see how Trevor Lawrence carves up this Texans defense. Fracture, since you're on here, I would love to hear what you have to say, of course, about this matchup here. But for the most part, Ish and I are on the same page. Jacksonville should take care of business at home. I don't see Jacksonville having a lapse of overlooking this team. I expect the Texans to keep it close, as they usually do with most teams. But I just can't see. I just can't see the upset from the Texans just due to the injuries all around the field, not just, of course, on the offensive line of the side of the ball, but, of course, all over the field. And the Jaguars, honestly, like I said, it's not too much really to talk about here. Whenever Fracture, of course, gives us his predictions on this game, of course, I will talk about it a little bit more from there. But let's go ahead and move on to the Chargers and Vikings. Fracture Wanda says, Jags better win. If not, the questions will begin to fly. Yeah, I mean, they'll be 1-2. Again, I think it's a little early in the season, and nobody really looking at Jacksonville like a Super Bowl contender. I think most people look at Jacksonville as a dark horse in the AFC, a potential MVP candidate like Trevor Lawrence. I don't think they're looking at Jacksonville as in like the Chiefs, right, or the Bills, or even the Jets, of course, before Aaron Rodgers. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the Chargers versus the Vikings. Interesting matchup, 2 0-2 teams. Talked about this in the pre-show when it comes to 2 very, very hungry teams. As you can see, the line is actually even, meaning that this is a pick'ems. One of the famous pick'em type of games can go either way. Chargers have too much talent on that team, both sides of the ball, to be 0-2 right now. And as you guys can see, Ish and I have the Vikings winning this game, which would make the Chargers 0-3, which means that if the Chargers go 0-3, we are just a couple of games away from Brandon Staley getting the hell up on out of there. And that also means that hopefully moving forward, the Chargers will be a better team because Brandon Staley will not be there anymore. I wish my colleague Ish was on the show with us today because I'm pretty sure he would have the same type of rhetoric that I'm spewing out right now when it comes to it's time for Brandon Staley to go. We saw it last year in the playoff game in Jacksonville. Should have left his ass in Jacksonville. And we might see it again in Minneapolis. Wouldn't surprise me at all if the Chargers are leading this game and the Vikings find a way to come back and win this game. Wouldn't surprise me at all if that happens. Also, of course, be on the lookout for Cam Akers' debut in the Vikings uniform, of course, from that trade from the Rams to the Vikings. I think that is a beautiful fit for all of parties. Cam Akers gets to be reunited with his offensive coordinator from the Rams, Kevin O'Donnell. Also, he can be that piece to replace Dalvin Cook because it looks like they haven't been able to really replace Dalvin Cook the way they want to. And I think Cam Akers will fit in perfectly to get that running side of the game on that side of the ball back to where it needs to be so it can open up everything else for that Vikings offense as well moving forward. Now, for the Vikings, really, it isn't the offense that's really holding them back. It's the defense for the most part. And the reason why I bring that up is because last week, of course, you gave up 34 points. That was on a Thursday night game. That was on a short week. I'm not going to harp on the Vikings too much for that. Again, against a championship contending team. Week before that, you gave up 20 points against Baker Mayfield and the Bucs. So this is a game where can you not give up 28 points to the Chargers? Because this game might be a game where who gets to 31 first. If whoever can get to 31 points first could probably win this game because I don't expect too much defense to be played on from both of these teams on the defensive side of the ball. So if the Chargers lose, like I said, I'm hoping that, and I'm not praying for anybody's job, but I'm hoping to see somebody else at that head coaching position that probably deserves it. And we talked about it on the show. I've seen reports. I saw it early this morning that Kellen Moore could be the guy that gets an opportunity to be able to step in as the interim head coach, and the Chargers can see what he can do at that position. Fresh One says, all I hope for is to see CJ continue to progress in a NFL quarterback. Injuries are just killing what we potentially could be. Again, that's that rookie woes. That's that having a young team woes. That's the unfortunate thing about having young players is because of them being ignorant to having to lose to win. I know people have heard that before, but you unfortunately in professional sports, you have to learn how to lose before you can win. When you have young players, they're not usually nutritionally wise, not up there taking care of their body comparison to veteran players. So you're going to get these aches and bruises and pains from some of these younger guys. Don't be surprised if Tank Dell, he's out for a week or so due to an injury here and there late on in the season, just because of, again, a lot of these guys coming out of college, they don't take care of their bodies like that. They really do. I mean, they just don't. I mean, because a lot of these guys are just playing off of pure athleticism. But once you're in the league and you're in there for 3, 4, 5 years, I've seen it firsthand, not just with my own family members, but I've seen it firsthand with athletes that I've known that are in the league go from, I used to eat candy and this and that to where I had to go get a personal chef because I had to eat a certain way to maintain what I'm doing to stay in this league a little bit longer. So, yes, it definitely does play a factor. Let's go ahead and move on to the Panthers and the Seahawks. Seahawks are at home trying to bounce back from from their loss. And really, from being honest with you, don't really understand how they lost to the Rams a couple weeks ago. And now they did, of course, beat the Lions last week in Detroit. But coming off of that loss against the Rams, I know they probably feel as though that they should probably be 2-0 going into the game. It could be 3-0, but I think they'll be okay with settling for 2-1 at this point. I think they take care of the Panthers at home, especially with no Bryce Young. And for being honest with you, even if Bryce Young was there, I don't think that the Panthers have enough to beat the Seattle Seahawks at home. Greg says, I remember you joking about Sauce Gardner in regards to eating right and taking care of your body talking point. Yeah, I mean, it's not just Sauce. I mean, DK Metcalf. I mean, as much as he's a physical specimen, I joke about it with my wife when it comes to it makes no goddamn sense. A physical specimen of that nature can eat bullshit and still run a 4.4 40, can run a 100-meter dash in 10.2 seconds, can jump out the building, can do this, can do that. Just imagine if he actually gave a damn and ate right and did some of the things that guys like a Tom Brady do. He physically wise, he could probably play until he's 44, 45 years old. He could be on that Jerry Rice track if he really wanted to as a wide receiver. That's just how outstanding he is as a physical specimen. But again, speaking of the Seahawks, I just think that they have too many weapons. They also just need to figure out. My only gripe for the Seahawks, they need to figure out how to get this offense back to where it needs to be. Run. Then we utilize the pass game. I don't want to see Geno Smith out here throwing the ball 35, 45 times a game because you do have a plethora of wide receivers and you want to utilize your Lamborghinis. We need to go back to the Mack trucks. We need to use these Mack trucks and pound through the hole and get these linebackers to be able to come up and then utilize play action and then be able to throw over the top over these linebackers. Because if you rely on just Geno, not saying he can't get it done, but I don't think if you're Seattle as an offense, I don't think that's an offense that you feel comfortable running with moving forward, allowing Geno to try to play like a Patrick Mahomes, right? And there's no disrespect to Geno Smith at all. It's just what makes the offense that much better is being unpredictable. When you're an offense, you're coming in and you're in the defense side of the ball, don't know if you're going to run or pass the ball on a 3rd and 4 and you're on their half of the side of the ball and you are that well balanced when it comes to running and passing, it opens up so much more on the offense side of the ball. Because if you're 3rd and 4 and they automatically think, oh, well, they're going to throw the ball because they've been throwing the ball all day. Okay, cool. Play back, play cover 3, play cover 4, and I can just run this quick little dive play for 4 or 5 yards and get an easy first down, and we keep moving. So those are the little nuances within the game that a lot of people don't look into, but they are very, very important because that's the chess match that is played within football as well. Greg says, on the other side of things, Ochocinco advocates athletes to stop eating too healthy. Now, yes, okay, so we might need to say that for another day, maybe on a Tuesday recap. I did see that. Low-key, he's right and he's wrong at the same time. Because if you do look at the history of football players in the 70s, 80s, right, and the 90s, you didn't see all these injuries, right? You didn't see, guys out for Achilles injuries and ACL tears and things that the third. But if you look at the history, yes, you actually did. The difference is back in the day is when you had some of these injuries, they were more career threatening than anything. You weren't out for a year and you can bounce back. Some of these guys, you turn ACL, you were out forever. You were done. You were done with your NFL or even MLB career for that nature. Achilles, don't even think about trying to come back. Nowadays with modern medicine, and also, again, depending on how you take care of your body, I remember, and Greg knows firsthand, Arian Foster. I remember Arian Foster changed his diet from being, I guess, a carnivore eater to a vegan eater. Some people say that was what his downfall was and his detriment of being a running back because he didn't have the protein within him to be able to absorb the hits. And I'm not talking about protein in general from plants. I'm talking about that meat-based protein. So let me not get too much off topic. We can definitely talk about that on a Tuesday recap show. Let me talk to Ish about that and as well, Greg, if you don't mind just throwing that back out again as well, because that is a very that's look, it's a science thing I don't want to get into because every athlete is different, just like everybody is different. Just like when it comes to vaccines don't work properly on everybody comparison to everybody else. So again, I don't want to get into technicalities, but it is just something that is interesting. So again, Greg, go ahead and bring that up for us on Tuesday. We might have to dive into that a little bit more. We'll talk about it later. Let's go ahead and recap this. Let's go ahead and finish up this Sunday slate, and then we'll go ahead and get you guys out of here. Cowboys versus Cardinals. Not too much to talk about. We're not even going to act like this is going to be anything. If anything, when I do see Cowboys versus Cardinals, I don't know about you guys, but I always just think about Emmitt Smith. I just think about Emmitt Smith because obviously besides him playing for both teams, it's just awkward to see Emmitt Smith in a Cardinals uniform playing against the Cowboys. So like anytime I see this matchup, I always think of Emmitt Smith. So Cowboys, y'all better take care of this game. This shouldn't even be a game. Bears and the Chiefs, again, another game that probably shouldn't even be a game. But I am interested in seeing how the Bears are going to play with all of the hoopla that happened throughout this week when it comes to defensive coordinator resigning. And then I saw the fake news, hoopla, or whatever you want to say when it comes to police raiding his house and all of that stuff. I've already seen that was false. They've already stated that was false. That is not true. If more news comes out and they say that it is true or it did happen or whatever it is that people assume that's going on with that defensive coordinator for the Bears, then sure, we'll talk about it a little bit later on. But one thing I'm not going to do, we're not going to jump on accusations, assumptions, things that are not allegedly. We're not going to jump on things like that because at the end of the day, these are not proven facts. And I'm not about a smear campaign for anybody, no matter who you are, player, coach, race, creed, religion. We don't do that around here. So until all the facts come out, we'll talk about that a little bit more. But for the Chiefs as well, even though they are 12.5-point favorite, obviously being at home, we got to look at the offense a little bit more. A lot of people I'm seeing talk about, well, is Eric Bieniemy the reason why you guys were even that successful? Of course, right? The Washington Commanders offense is looking a lot more fluid comparison to the Chiefs right now. Maybe this is just Chiefs early season woes. This is something that's happened in the past with Eric Bieniemy being there, right? So I'm not trying to blow this up out of proportion to where this could just be, again, early off-season woes and early offensive woes for the Chiefs to where they finally got everybody in play now. You got Kelsey healthy again, got Chris Jones there. Let's see how this championship of a team plays itself out because at the end of the day, when it comes to no matter what sport, baseball with the Houston Astros, I'll be the first one to say it. I don't care how they perform at the end of at the end of this regular season. The Astros are a dangerous team because they have postseason history and they have World Series history as well too. When it comes to basketball, you can never count out a LeBron James team. And again, I'm not saying this because I'm a LeBron James lover or a hater. I'm just saying when it comes to not even just LeBron James, also Steph Curry and the Warriors. My bad. Let me go throw them out there as well too. You cannot count them out. Same thing with the Kansas City Chiefs. If you want to beat a man, you got to beat the man. And the only way to knock the Chiefs out is to punch them square in the mouth. And until somebody do that, which hasn't been done so far, I'm going to have to take the Chiefs, not just for this game, but also into the postseason until, again, somebody says, hey, we're the big bad wolf. It's our time to shine now. All right, Sunday Night Football, Steelers versus Ravens. Steelers are on primetime once again. Of course, played Monday Night Football last week. Now they are traveling to Vegas to take on the Raiders, who, for whatever reason, look good. They're playing well. I don't know what to do and what to make out of this Raiders team. They're 1-1 at the moment, and could be 2-0, could be 0-2. This is a very interesting game because coaching wise, I'm looking at it like Mike Thomas a better coach than Josh McDaniels, but personnel wise, I just don't know if I'm believing in the Steelers personnel at the moment. I just don't know what's going on in this first couple weeks of the season that is not transitioning over from from the preseason. Granted, I've stated once, I'll state again, I don't give a damn about what you do in the preseason. It's about obviously the regular season and postseason. But I was looking at the Steelers and I was hoping that with Kenny Pickett being a little bit more comfortable in his offense in the preseason, that was something that's going to translate over into the regular season. I really haven't seen that just yet. Obviously, all eyes are on Matt Canada. If you're still a nation, Steeler hopeful, a lot of people are pointing the finger at Matt Canada. But for right now as well, too, this is going to be a very, very big game for the Raiders, I think. Not so much for the Steelers. I think for the Raiders to show all of us, all of America on national television, are you real? Are you as real as you think that you are? You say that you are? Look, we know the history of Jimmy G. We know with Jimmy G, he's going to play well the first 8, 9, 10 games of the season. And then after that, we're not going to see him anymore because he's going to be hurt. And he's going to be hanging out with somebody in Turks and Caicos or Barbados or Belize or whatever it is because he plays half the season. Just it is what it is. But overall, are the Raiders trying to establish their foundational year as well, too, and trying to lay this foundation down brick by brick and trying to get themselves back into Raider Nation. At the moment, Ish and I, we do have the Raiders winning this game. I'm really not confident, if I'm being honest with you, in this pick because I just don't know what I'm going to get out of both of these teams. I really just don't understand these two teams at the moment after 2 weeks. Hopefully we can get a bit more clarity after this game. But I'm throwing the Raiders out there just by default. I really, guys, I just don't know what we're getting out of this game. This is one of those Sunday night games where I'm going into with just an open mind and just going to sit back and enjoy what I see because I just don't know what the hell we're going to get out of this. All right, before we get out of here today, let's go ahead and get to If I Was the Betting Man. And as you guys know, of course, we check out the Prize Picks promo code is what we do on Prize Pick. Promo code would be PR-JVA61PN. And for myself, I think we might have a winner today. A little 4-player parlay. I have Brian Robertson Jr. going over 55.5 rushing yards. Of course, running back from the Washington Commanders. I have the GOAT, as some folks will call him, Justin Tucker, making over 1.5 field goals. That means I just need you to make two. Make two for me, Justin Tucker. And my boy Young Ho Koo over for the Falcons. I got him going over 1.5 field goals as well. I think he takes full advantage of that. I think both those guys get 2 field goals within that first half. So please do me right, Young Ho and Justin Tucker. And I have Mr. Justin Fields against the Kansas City Chiefs, probably not running for his life, but probably taking things into his own hands, as he would say, when it comes to just going out there and playing a little bit more free. I have him going for at least 10 rushing attempts, I'm hoping. If that's the case, both of us make a little bit of money, and we leave this Sunday slate a little bit happy, and we can see you guys back on Tuesday for our Week 3 recap. Of course, Ish will be here. Just had to take care of a little bit of business today. That's what happens when you work in the IT world. Just because you work Monday through Friday don't mean you ain't working on the weekend like we both do, and it happens from time to time. So with that being said, we appreciate Ish for taking care of his business so he can be on here and we can talk some more sports. But we'll be back on Tuesday. We'll have Ish here, and Might even have a special guest. Who knows? We might have somebody here. We'll let y'all know in due time. So with that being said, we appreciate y'all as always. Enjoy y'all Sunday football. And if y'all need us, y'all know where to reach us on that social media page. Thank you guys and have a good one.